My spouse has been unfaithful to me, branded me a loser, and now she wants to take home as alimony. I'm retaliating in my divorce. It has been a year since my wife Zoe, 23F, and I, 26M, got married. For the 4 years that we had been together, we had managed to make it work in spite of our differences. Since our backgrounds are so dissimilar, Zoe's life has been very different from mine. When we were in college, we initially got together for a friend's birthday. She was the most gorgeous person I'd ever seen, so I instantly fell in love. She was charming and attractive, as I found out when I started chatting to her. Through messaging over the following several months, we were able to get to know one another better. Before making a commitment, we went on several dates. But she never told me anything about her family, which had always eluded me, until we moved in together. She had told me that she didn't get along with her family and had been away from them for a number of years, so she didn't want me to meet them. We'd been dating for over a year when I eventually told her that I was curious to find out more about her family because I felt like she was keeping something from me, which bothered me since she knew everything about me. In the end, she told me that her parents had booted her out when she went off to college, so they were no longer in communication. They didn't like that she wanted to get a degree instead. They wanted her to drop out and get a job to support the family. They told her to go after a bloody altercation, and she obeyed. She managed to gather enough cash with the help of a few family members and friends to pay for her tuition. And she used that money to pay for education. Her parents, it seems, had always been cheap and hesitant to put in the necessary effort to support themselves. They were always dependent on family members for support, who ultimately separated them since her parents had made empty promises to return borrowed money. They wanted Zoe to join them in their failing beauty and cosmetics firm, but she decided to break things up. She told me that due to her parents' reputation, it had been hard to convince her relatives to help her, but thankfully they felt sorry for her and decided to help without expecting anything in return. She worked so hard at such a young age, receiving a degree while working part-time, since she owed a lot of people money. I was moved by her story and wanted to support her. I assured her that I would begin making contributions and help her settle her debts. I have said before that my family is incredibly different. My mother is an entrepreneur with a prosperous online jewelry business, while my father practices ophthalmology. I had a good upbringing and never worried about money. This does not, however, mean that I do not respect money or that I spend it carelessly. That's not the kind of person I am. I'm attempting to say that I've never experienced financial hardship. I was thus touched to read of Zoe's experience. She was afraid that if I found out she was dating me, I would call her a gold digger, which is why she had kept it a secret from me for so long. After talking it over, we agreed that I would help her pay off her obligations faster. She said that I started giving her a certain amount of money each month, and it was really beneficial. Because I trusted her, and she had never given me a reason not to. I never asked for information. She may not have realized that the money I gave her was from my earnings rather than my parents, but that didn't stop me. At the time, we were residing at my apartment, and I was in charge of all the expenses. It was not a problem because I was already making money. Zoe was still seeking for a full-time job after graduating, and I didn't want her to waste her money when I could make ends meet on my own. For the 4 years that we shared a home, we were content. During the year after our nuptials, but after we were engaged, she started acting differently, but not significantly enough for me to notice. After we were engaged, I was incredibly busy at work, trying to finish everything before the honeymoon, so I didn't have time to observe small things like the fact that she was putting more time on her phone, was usually late coming home, or had stopped looking for a full-time job. She had recently graduated, so I knew she would find something, so I wasn't concerned. About a year ago, my parents and I covered the full cost of our marriage. We couldn't depend on Zoe's parents, and she didn't come from a big family. So we decided to cover the whole cost of the event on our own. Given her circumstances, I didn't think it was strange that Zoe didn't even offer to help, and I was okay with it. I didn't expect her to share anything with me after the wedding, so I kept paying all the big costs. She told me that although she was still seeking for work, none of the positions matched her schedule. Something more challenging was what she desired. She had put in a lot of effort and earned a break, so I decided to trust her. We also stuck to the arrangement where I sent her money each month, assuming she would use it to settle her debts. Regretfully, I discovered a few days earlier that she was having an extramarital affair with my employer. It was a coincidence I wasn't snooping. I was in the living room, where Zoe's laptop was charging, while she showered. Just then, I noticed that she was getting a voice call on Instagram from an account named Unknown. My first instinct was to pick up, but then I heard my boss asking why it was taking her so long to reply. The call ended, and I immediately hung up, trying to figure out what had happened. I accessed Instagram on her laptop, despite my best efforts to convince myself that there may be a harmless explanation. I found out they'd been having an affair for a long time. Even before we were married, when I opened the conversations with the account belonging to the mystery lover. With Zoe's long baths, I had plenty of time to scroll back as far as I could and find everything. Right about the time we were engaged, they started flirting. I've heard that during our engagement party, my boss, 32M, made a move on her, and she responded very well. They started dating after that when he created a burner account to flirt with her. It dawned on me that they had been sharing a bed for some time, and she had shown him more verbal tenderness than she had ever shown me. She frequently conveyed her love for him and her readiness to sacrifice all for him in such messages, even me. My boss was married with a child who was about 5 or 6 years old, so he wasn't sure if he should follow up with them. She was staying with me since he had told her to wait and promised that they would soon be together. It would be an understatement to say I was inconsolable. As I read those messages, I started crying. Zoe, hearing me cry, heard me get out of the shower and came running over to console me. However, she retreated a step upon seeing what I was reading on the computer. She did not deny or apologize, she just stood quietly as I sobbed. I became agitated after a time and asked her what was wrong. She just informed me that she didn't want to be with me anymore, and that she had been waiting for me to find out. She had even thought about telling me herself. She said that she had become tired of acting as though she loved me and that, just a few weeks after our wedding, she had lost interest in me. She told me that she had come to the conclusion that my boss was the right man for her. She told me that a broke loser like me could never treat her the way my employer did when I asked her why she felt that. She even boasts about lying to me about going on a weekend getaway with her friends a few months back. Actually, her friends had covered for her when she went out with my employer. That clarified the beautiful new gifts, pricey outfits, purses, jewelry, and cosmetics she had been showing off lately. She had been telling me about a friend of hers who was really wealthy and had a good relationship with everyone. However, I now realized that this was all due to my boss. She said she was glad I found out on my own, and that she was sick of acting like she cared about me, and now wanted a divorce. She went so far as to say that she would sooner be my boss's mistress or remain unmarried than stay married. The union had ended. She started grabbing her items before I could even comprehend what was going on. She wasn't asked to remain beside me. For that, I was too proud. Although it broke my heart, I had to let her go. She didn't try to deny anything or express regret for what she had done. She actually seemed happy to be leaving. She was about to take her laptop and head out, but I assured her that whatever I had bought her would stay behind. I owned the money, not her. When I mentioned that, she scowled but did not object, leaving the laptop at my house. I kept the other things I had purchased her, but the laptop was the most valuable to me, and I had a plan. Since I wasn't going to let her off lightly or forgive my boss, I needed it as evidence in the divorce. Even though we got along well at work, he had no business hitting on my wife and acting in such a horrible manner. The thing that annoyed me the most was his arrogance in seeming to be friendly and kind to me at work while he was secretly having sex with my wife. I had always gone above and beyond the call of duty to help him and be a wonderful employee. I decided that day to make him pay for what he had done to me. I knew that he had been involved in some dubious acts recently. I knew precisely where the documentation was kept, and he had failed a drug test administered to the entire organization. He was engaged in illegal activity, and if one of his secrets were discovered, the rest would follow. Together with the team that conducted the drug tests, my employer had paid them to produce a false positive. After getting the desired results, he decided not to pay the remaining balance, even though he had already paid half of it. He thus disagreed with the head of the medical team. My employer received a threat email from the head, with the real test results, threatening to expose him unless he paid the remaining money. Just a few days before I found out about Zoe's affair, my boss received the real test results, and we had been discussing them in his office. I could recall precisely where he had placed those documents. I made the decision to expose my employer after learning about Zoe. I got up early and headed to the office the following morning. I always had an extra set of keys since my boss often asked me to run errands and be here early. The office keys were in my possession. Thus, entry was not a difficulty. After removing the real test results from his desk drawers, I went straight to the police station. I gave the police all the details of the case there and let them handle it. That's when I decided I didn't care anymore about what had happened to my employer. Naturally, the fact that the substances found in his system were illegal led to his detention. In addition to being imprisoned, the whole medical team that conducted the tests is also being looked at. All in all, I am the reason why everyone is in so much trouble. Not that I'm concealing it. I've let the police know that I'm here in case they need any further help. In addition, I have quit my work since I don't want to be involved in any further activities there. There is an ongoing investigation of my supervisor. I'm delighted I got him in trouble, even if I'm not sure if he'll face charges. He's on suspension right now, and if my accusations turn out to be true, he'll lose his job and probably go to jail. It's only Zoe that is upset about this. Since the news about my employment surfaced, she hasn't stopped calling and accusing me of destroying her and her boyfriend's lives. She keeps saying that it is bad for me to treat my employer this way, because she is upset about the affair, and that she is disappointed in me. She thinks my actions were harsh and unjust, and they weren't motivated by a feeling of righteousness. But it's done out of revenge, which is never justified. Thus, AITA for informing the authorities about my boss's drug usage after learning he was having an affair with my wife. Update 1. My last post here was a week ago, and I filed for divorce before Zoe could. In relation to her, I've blocked her on all platforms. After I accepted that she was a serpent, I stopped questioning my own actions. I made the correct decision. What my motives may have been, they don't matter because I reported someone for breaking the law. Since my boss isn't a kind person, I don't feel horrible about it. I wouldn't have thought to put him through this if he had been a very good man with a drug issue. But that wasn't the case. I'm ashamed of myself for allowing Zoe to live with me and for giving her so much for so long. Most importantly, I feel foolish for falling in love with her. Many of you inquired for indications, and I regret to inform you that none existed. Nobody in my situation, I think, could have guessed what was going to happen. She acted normally around me even after the relationship started. If anything else, I doubt I would have learned. With everything I did for her, I never would have thought she was cheating on me, even if there had been signs. I didn't realize she was taking advantage of me. I did it out of love. She says her parents didn't want her to get a degree. But I'm starting to question that. It no longer seems real to me. And because there were no updates, I doubt she used my money to settle her expenses. I absolutely trusted her, which I now see was a huge mistake, so like an idiot, I never asked. I see now how stupid I was to have trusted her more than I should have. But don't worry, I'll have her back. The divorce is on the way. Update 2-3 days ago, Zoe was served with divorce papers. We heard back from her today. She wants to talk things out rather than fight the divorce, even if she doesn't agree with the conditions of the petition. She is welcome to bring it on. That is okay with me. She's asking for alimony, a sizable amount, and the house back. Considering what she did to me, her words seem audacious. A well-known cheater wouldn't be so conceited as to submit such an intricate petition in an attempt to keep all for themselves, in my opinion. She obviously only wants my money. She doesn't seem to care about my boss anymore, in my opinion, as he can no longer provide for her financially. Zoe is calculating and icy, and it's good that I'm seeing this side of her since it's making me no longer have any residual love or affection for her. I'm disappointed in her for who she's become, but I promise to ruin her in court. It's okay to be let down and to work through my feelings, but I have to win this first. We'll see how things work out when we meet with the mediator designated by the court in a few days. I also at last gained the courage to talk to my parents about everything. I had been keeping it from them since I felt embarrassed and ashamed of what was happening. But I wanted to talk to them, because I knew it was a major matter. They were supportive and offered to help me both financially and emotionally, so I'm pleased I did. Since I recently resigned my job and am seeking for another, I think I may need their financial aid for a while. Everything is going to be rather costly with all of my bills, rent, and now the legal fees, so I'll have to use all of my money. I'm still embroiled in the drug scandal with my boss, who is on trial, so I'm not sure when I'll find another employment. I don't think I'll get hired by any company while this is going on. It has been quite emotionally taxing for me to testify against him, but I am motivated by the knowledge that I am doing the right thing. In the worst situation, I'll just go to work for my dad. With him, at least I know my boss won't ever try to take advantage of me. Version 3. The talks have started. I have been waiting for the answer to my divorce petition for the past week and a half. Nothing new while my boss's trial is still pending. It's not going well in the negotiations with my soon-to-be ex-wife. She is quite demanding during these meetings and tells falsehoods with a straight face, trying to make me look bad in order to support her accusations. I find it quite annoying that she is acting like the victim in this situation. She seems like a widow and has obviously gone through a lot when she shows up for these sessions. It's awful that I can see straight through her charade. I know what she's attempting to do, and it could influence the mediator, but neither my lawyer nor I will be persuaded by it. We are not going to retract our accusations. Without a doubt, we'll get what we deserve. She is asking for alimony, and I'm not going to let her get away with it. I'm not sure why, exactly. She thinks that just because she's not working now, she deserves it. She physically cheated on me, after all, and I think that counts against her in any situation. Her laptop containing all of the texts is the proof I possess. I've already taken screenshots, so it doesn't matter that. She hasn't even logged out of her account. In these sessions, I have demonstrated to them. But she says I treated her so badly that she felt compelled to look for love outside of our marriage. She says I promised to take care of her, had her do all the housework, and made her quit her job. But now I'm not living up to my word. That's all untrue. and hearing her say stuff like that gets me furious. Reminding myself not to leave those meetings took everything I had. It is really tough given the circumstances, but my lawyer has advised me to maintain my composure. I'll be honest, I'm annoyed. With every meeting, things get harder, but I know I have to keep going. All I can hope is that it stops quickly. It's disheartening that I haven't had any luck getting a job. Having a reputation like that in our industry, which I gained by outing my employer, isn't helping me get a job. I got the impression that I may have to work for my father. That was perfectly okay. All I could do was hope to find another route. It will definitely be more difficult now that I've decided to attack the wrong people. I won't be talking about my 2-month-old divorce filing today. I'm come to let you know that my boss is going to prison. I don't know how long he'll be there, maybe 2 or 3 years, but if he behaves well, I might be able to get him out sooner. The thing is, he's in jail right now. I'm just so sorry for his wife. Since she is a stay-at-home mother who depends entirely on his income, her life will be challenging now that he is not employed. For her and their child, I feel sad. They are stuck in this situation, even though they deserve better. Regarding myself, I have begun working for my father. My father did not make me feel uncomfortable or unusual at all, in fact. He was pretty pleasant about it. Negotiations will carry on since we haven't reached a settlement in the divorce processes, which are still pending. Now that I don't have any deep feelings for Zoe, it's much simpler for me to attempt to keep her out of my mind. Version 5. Hi, it has been over 6 months since my last post. I neglected to update you because I became too busy working for my father. I concluded my divorce a few months ago. Since my demands were the best for Zoe, she had to accept them. The mediator was quite clear that things would get more worse for her if we couldn't come to an agreement and this went to court. He said it to us both, but I knew he was talking about Zoe. She may have lied in our conversations, but in family court she wouldn't get away with it. She could do nothing but give in since the repercussions would be disastrous. As of right now, we are no longer in contact after our divorce. To tell the truth, I like it better this way. I'm attempting to better myself by attending therapy. Even though it will be a lengthy journey, I have faith that I will succeed eventually. I'm going to keep my parents and amazing friends close by throughout this time. They are incredibly supportive.